Are you each native Miltonians?
Yes.
Yes, both of our families were living in Milton when we were born. Did your family move to Milton?
My family moved to Milton in 1934.
And my family came in the 1880s, and they lived on Thatcher Street, and they started, we consider 1891 the year that my family started Thatcher Farm. We had cows, and we still are doing home delivery of milk.
Maritta, did your father and grandparents attend Milton Public Schools too?
My father, his two brothers, attended Milton schools. They were 20. My father was 27. My uncle was 1928, and the other uncle was 1930. My grandparents, my grandfather Manning and my grandmother Manning, also graduated, and I think my grandmother was probably around 1900 graduating.
John, what were your great-grandparents doing up to 120 years ago?
Well, my great-grandfather Cronin was a farmer in Ireland, and my great-grandfather Ma had come down from Nova Scotia, where he was a sea captain, and he started a business using his knowledge of rigging and booms and masts to start a steel erection business, the Ma Company's Ma Steel Erection, and which is located in South Boston and has grown today to be scaffolding and cranes and lift rentals, which is a business which my cousins run today. I have four cousins named Ma who live in Milton. Run that business.
What were your professions, both of you? Go ahead.
I'm a graduate civil engineer from Tufts, but for 34 years I was the town administrator in Milton.
And I was a school teacher. I taught 4 years in Abington, and then I taught, after my children were older, I taught for about 15 or 16 years in the Title I program in Milton. How did you meet?
Well, in 1961, as I recall, I was campaigning for election to the Board of Park Commissioners, and on election day, in front of the old fire station, which was Precinct 4, I met this young lady who was running for town meeting member, and that's how it all started.
So, Maritta, what was your favorite Milton Public School class?
In the 8th grade, I had Carolyn McKnight for history, and I really enjoyed Miss McKnight. I think she started my real interest in American history.
John, what was your most memorable occasion at Milton High?
Probably my senior prom. Senior proms had traditionally been held in the Milton High Gymnasium, but in 1955 the gymnasium was being reconstructed. So the class officers decided to have it in Glover School, which was a brand new school, and it was in the, I guess they call it the cafetorium, but it was a spiffy, shiny, bright place, and we decorated it with literally whole lilac bushes and dogwoods, which were in bloom at the time, and it was just very special. So we had a wonderful time. Parties afterwards. It was a very memorable occasion.
What advantages do students enjoy today that didn't exist when you were students?
Electric alarm clocks.
All the technology, so amazing. Just being able to just Google something and find out almost instantly all you need to know. However, I think it takes away some of the research that we used to do, and I feel that's a loss.
You know, we grew up in an era where our telephones were party lines, and we had to listen to see whether somebody else was on the phone before you could dial.
Maritta, do you have any advice for Milton students or for their parents?
Well, of course, I was a reading teacher, so I do believe you should, students should read a lot. I think their parents should encourage them to read a lot, and I think their parents should know where they are. And I think that students should be encouraged to participate in as many clubs, sports, and activities as they can. Fewer teenagers seem to have after-school jobs, which are more prevalent in our day, but so I think they have more time in that respect, and I think that's a great opportunity for them. I think teamwork is a great thing for them to participate in and for them to learn about.
John, do you remember any special teacher who made a difference in your life?
Well, the Milton school system always had good teachers, and excellent teachers. Howard Smith taught chemistry for many, many years. Paul Shute was the graphic arts teacher, and I think he had some influence on my going to the profession of engineering. Rose DuPoint was, I thought, my most outstanding teacher. She was very demanding. She was a Radcliffe graduate. She spent her whole career teaching in Milton. Matter of fact, I think she lived to be the oldest Radcliffe graduate. She died at 105 years of age. But she was head of the mathematics department after I graduated in 1955. But she I had her Algebra 1 and Algebra 2. And she was a very demanding, but very clear teacher. And I think she had great influence on my ability to think logically and to do mathematics.
Maritta, how many children did you and John have, and did they go to the Milton Public Schools too?
We have 3 sons. Jay graduated in '85, Brian graduated in '87, and Will graduated in '93. And they all participated in after school in sports, and they all went to college. They
enrolled in football, wrestling, skiing, and basketball, and track.
So as volunteers, you've both participated and led numerous community activities in Milton. So do you have any overview or reflections on those experiences?
Well, that's interesting. Milton really is wonderful because of volunteerism. You start to think about it, the government in Milton isn't run by a mayor, it's run by people who are elected who serve as volunteers. The school department, although they have teachers and principals and educators, a lot of the key decisions are made by volunteer school committee members. The French immersion controversy was the volunteer school committee really to make the votes. The planning board has to determine whether or not buildings get built. And sometimes there's some bumbling around, but it's better maybe because it is done by volunteers. And all the organizations in the town, whether it's Rotary, Kiwanis, the Westcott groups, the League, the Babe Ruth League, the hockey programs, the Historical Society, the Friends of the Library, all these organizations are all run by volunteers, and I think it just makes for a very high quality community.
I think my serving on the community, on various community activities, I felt that I met folks that I probably wouldn't have run into otherwise. So I think it enriches your life to participate in those activities.
So what are some general favorite memories of growing up here in Milton?
I still like, you know, you come home from school, you change into play clothes, and you know, everybody would just get on their bike, and you were, you know, pretty free to go to a friend's house, and there was less organized activity. We could, you know, we could bike to the library, bike to a friend's house, and we had lots of fun.
Yeah, the Turner's Pond was fascinating to me as a youngster. You go fishing, you go skating in the wintertime when it was a shallow pond, now very deep. Sledding at the Milton Academy or down Gunhill Street, which was allowed at that time. Skating at the Hollow, just riding your bike around the wooden outdoor track at Bosa's Lane. And there were so many nice things about Milton. When I was in high school, I worked at Kerrigan's store. Kerrigan's store was a general store located across from today's middle school, between Brook and Brook Road and Reedstill Road. It's a doctor's office now, but it was a general store, probably going back to the days of the 1890s when the street railroad came up from Maritta, Brook Road, and up Central Avenue from Ashmont, and went on to Brockton, and went to Reedstill Road, and the street went to Quincy. So that store, when I worked there, you could buy milk and bread, and it was a regular convenience store. It had a ice cream fountain bar, and you could go in and get a Coke after school. And we would make a Coke by squirting Coca-Cola syrup into a glass and then filling the glass with salsa water. And that was the way you made tonic in those days. And then, of course, there were two gas pumps out front. So when somebody came to get gas, I'd have to, as a clerk, soda jerk, and the clerk, I'd have to go out and fill that car with gasoline and come back in and hope that I remembered to wash my hands before I made it within a split.
The store was called Kerrigan's at that time. It has morphed, as John said, into a doctor's office now.
I went through 2 or 3 pharmacies after Kerrigan's, Mr. Kerrigan passed away.
Maritta, were any of your fellow teachers exemplary?
I worked with a lot of great people, but I think 2 people who stand out are Erin Toomey Power, who teaches now at the Cunningham School, and I taught with Erin at Tucker, and she's a Milton High School graduate, and Martha Foley Sherman, who retired in June, and who grew up in Milton, was also somebody who was great to work with and really an amazing teacher.
In public service, who gave you inspiration?
Well, I would say my father, who was born in 1900, after he moved to Milton, he got active in the community. In 1940, Charles Sumner Pierce was the moderator of the town, and he appointed my father to the Warren Committee, and he got involved in the town government, and he really had an influence on my brothers and I, and he would read the warrants as the years went by, and we were growing up. When we were teenagers, he would say, let's you should go up to town hall and sit in the balcony and watch the town meeting on this Saturday afternoon, because they're going to be talking about this subject or that subject. And so we'd go up and we'd sit in the back of the town hall and watch them deliberate on the legislative matters for the town of Milton. And that had a profound influence on both my brothers and I. My older brother became president of Bentley College, and he was an educator, and my other brother was a political scientist, and he became president of Whitman College, and I stayed right here in Milton and could go off the town government. So, he had a substantial influence.
I think for me, all of those, I also went to town meeting as a youngster and sat in the balcony, although I didn't know John was there. But the town fathers who gave so much and who explained the reasons for, promoting a particular vote, they were also so dedicated, and I was always quite taken with their dedication.
What is your profession?
I serve as the president of Curry College in Milton, Massachusetts.
How do you think Milton Schools helped you in your education and your career?
I've had the benefit of going to some great schools. I went to the Boston College School of Management. I went to the Villanova University School of Law. I went to Boston Latin School until my family moved to Boston. And none of those schools have anything on Milton High School.
Do you remember any advice you received as a student that helped you along the way?
I remember teachers. I remember teachers who had a significant impact on my life at both Pierce and at Milton High School, and I remember moments with teachers. Sometimes you remember what specific advice, and sometimes you remember their approaches to things.
Have you had any kind of challenges that you've faced that you think your education at Milton High may have helped you in?
Of course. Everyone's life is the sum total of their experiences, and secondary education is a key component in a person's education and in a person's development. And the experiences that I had at Milton High School, in the classrooms and on the playing fields, I benefit from to this day.
What are some major differences in the town now from when you were growing up in Milton?
The town is probably about the same size in terms of population. I think it's a more diverse community, which is a very good thing. But it's still, it's a wonderful community where I think the fabric has remained constant throughout.
What was your most memorable moment at Milton High?
My most memorable moment at Milton High, beating Natick 8-6 the year before, the game before Natick won the Super Bowl.
What sport?
Football.
What advice do you have for Milton students?
Benefit from the education that they're receiving today while setting ambitious and worthwhile goals for tomorrow and working hard to achieve them.
Do you have any advice for their parents?
No. Absolutely not.
What was your favorite class at Milton High?
At Milton High, economics. Morgan J. Costello, who I continue to correspond with to this day. Absolutely. Mr. Costello and Mr. Fredrickson at the Pierce are two teachers that just jump to my mind when I think of the Milton Public Schools.
How would your teachers have described you?
It would probably, Emily, depend upon which teacher you ask. I hope they would describe me as a good student and engaged. And I would hope that the significant majority would describe me as a pleasure to have in class.
How do you see technology helping or changing education now?
The impact of technology on education has been remarkable. And the velocity of the change in education as a result of technology, through and including MOOCs today, is remarkable. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to teaching and learning. Good teaching by teachers and learning in partnership with students.
Do you remember any special teachers who made a difference in your life?
Absolutely. At Pierce, Mr. Fredrickson, who was the gym teacher and a coach. And coaches can be great teachers and provide so many opportunities for life lessons. So Mr. Fredrickson, who I still see collecting the money at the football games at Milton High to this day, and then Mr. Costello, who taught economics at the high school, and who also was a coach, and who wrote my recommendations for Boston College. Those two teachers jump to mind. I could go through a list of a half a dozen more easily. and teachers are special.
What advantages do students enjoy today that didn't exist when you were a student?
Technology, absolutely technology. And that's broken down barriers and made the world flatter and more accessible.
How did you decide upon a career in higher education?
I don't know that I did. You know, for many people, life evolves. Life evolves. I got out of law school in 1982, and I was in a graduate program at BU in '83 in law, and I started teaching in the MBA program at Suffolk University in 1984. So I have been either a student or an employee of an institution of higher education every year of my life since I was 17. It just kind of occurred.
What are some of the things you're most proud of as president of Curry College?
I'm proud of the students that go out into society and contribute and serve. I'm proud of the faculty and staff who choose to serve those students and who care passionately about the success of those students. So most of all, I'm proud about the contribution that the individuals of the college make, and I hope that the college makes to society and the community as well.
How do you stay involved with the town of Milton when you're the president of Curry?
It's my goal that Curry be, simply put, an outstanding corporate citizen in the town of Milton. And that we continually look for ways to serve and to contribute. And I think we've been able to do that through the schools, through the library, through the hospital, and through the community.
What are some general favorite memories of growing up in Milton?
I'm one of 6 children. Favorite memories? My parents, moving to Milton in the middle of Pierce, the high school, athletics were a big part of it. Friends who I still see to this day.
Do you have a motto that you live by?
No, I don't have a motto that I live by. There are things I believe in, which are basically a work ethic and discipline and goals and contribution and service. And a little fun, but no particular motto, no.
What or who inspires you?
What or who inspires me? I learn a lot from my children. I do. I learn an awful lot from my children. I have certain authors who resonate with me, and then there's probably a reference group of a half a dozen people, some of whom have sponsored this evening, who I learn from and aspire to emulate. I won't embarrass them by name either.